How you doing? How you doing? Oh my God, I got a heavyweight on the channel today. Oh man, this brother here, he done text me, he done email me, he done call me, he said, I got something to tell you, and it's about my family.
That's right.
Oh my God, this guy know what he doing. I'm so happy he on my channel, man. I don't know what to tell you. Come on, you strong inspiration people.
That's right.
Oh, it's me, it's Anthony Brogdon. I'm giving it to you straight, don't chase it.
That's right.
And I don't even tell a story. My man said that's right, because I let Bim tell it. He ready. He smiled and said, come on, man, quit talking. Let's go, let's go. But you know what I got to do, folks? You know what I got to do? I got to ask you, my friends, hit that subscribe button. It's free. Hit that like button on this video. It's free.
Yes, sir.
Hit that notifications bell. It's free. And come on now, do me a favor and tell somebody about Strong Inspirations. Don't keep this to yourself. Don't do it. Let your kids see this information.
Absolutely.
Come on, people, and let your friends, if there's somebody you don't like, let them see it. And then you might like them. I don't know how it goes. And check it out. You know I got a movie out. See, I'm serious about my game.
That's right. Business in the Black.
Business in the Black, the rise of Black business in America. This is 2 years of my life in this thing, right?
Yes, sir.
And it's 75 minutes long. So, you know, I had to do a lot. Did the research. I hired the production crew. We went out and did the interviews, and we put it in this film, and I think it's good. So I had people say it's good.
Yes, sir.
And it's available on Amazon. And you can get the hard copy DVD, or you can just stream it if you don't have a DVD player, all right? And then, like I say, I'm serious about this Black history thing. I like it.
That's right.
I came out with the book. The book is Black Business Book.
Wow.
Over 204 amazing facts. It's similar to the movie. Now, the movie got interviews. I don't have no interviews in here.
Yeah.
So I gave you more facts.
That's right.
I'm telling you, when the first slaves got here, as they say, enslaved in 1619 to Motown Records, because I focus on Black business.
That's right.
That's what I do in this book, right? And I give you some quotes and I give you some photos. And if you're like me, I'm not no big reader. I ain't gonna lie to you. I just, man, I'd be doing other. I like writing, but I'm not a big reader. And so I wrote the book for people like me, so that I don't give you no commentary. I just let the fact stand on itself.
Absolutely.
But I give you enough of the fact to make you say, wow, I didn't know that. I did know it. And if you want to learn more, I give you the link where I found it.
Right.
I ain't lying in this book, my friends. I ain't lying to you, man. The slaves bought their freedom.
That's exactly
I ain't lying about that. I got about 13 businesses like that in this book. And it's also on Amazon. Now, you want to do a favor, you want to cut the big Amazon man out. You know, he got a ton of money.
Yeah.
Just go to my website, and it's at inspirationsbystrong.com. Because as you might notice, everything I do is that word strong. I like strong, which is a lead in to what I'm about to tell you. I got a strong brother on the channel. Come on, brother. Tell us your name and just tell us a little bit about yourself.
Man, I tell you, Brother Brogdon, you on fire today.
I'm on fire, man.
You're on fire, man. I'll tell you, man, just ruminating on your work and promoting the history of Black-owned businesses.
Yeah.
And I am a descendant. My parents own businesses. My father owns an insurance agency, and my mama owns a beauty salon.
Okay, hold on before you go too far. Man, tell us your name, man.
I'm about to get into it. My name is Dr. Walter B. Curry Jr. And I'm the founder and CEO of Renaissance Publications, LLC. And I'm also the author of the award-winning book, The Thompson Family, Untold Stories from the Past from 1830 to 1960. And so when you talk about Black entrepreneurship historically, you will learn about this in the book. And the beautiful thing about it is when you look at Black entrepreneurship, particularly in the rural areas, there were former slaves in my family who purchased their freedom.
Okay, hold on. Let me stop you there. Let me stop you. Let me get on this, man. You got your PhD?
Got my EDD, Doctor of Education.
Oh, man, that's heavy, man. You did a dissertation and all that.
Yes, I did a dissertation.
What school did you go to?
I went to Argosy University, Sarasota, which was the University of Sarasota.
Where you from?
I'm from Columbia, South Carolina. I'm a native of Orangeburg, South Carolina.
Okay, I heard of them.
Yes, sir. And so I've been here in Columbia for over 18 years, the capital city.
Yeah, but you grew up where?
I'm sorry?
You grew up where?
I grew up in Orangeburg.
Now, Orangeburg, that's one of them, the small towns and all that kind of stuff, right?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. It's between Columbia and Charleston. It's the home of two HBCUs, Claflin University.
I heard of that.
And my alma mater, South Carolina State University.
I heard of that. Yeah, I heard of them. So now, is there racial stuff in your city? Is Orangeburg known for some race stuff, some slavery and all that?
Oh, yes. I mean, Orangeburg, the city itself, is where a lot of the civil rights movement activities took place. And from my experience, my aunts on my dad's side attended Claflin University, and they were a part of the demonstrations and marches during the civil rights movement. And I used to hear stories about the Orangeburg massacre. I used to hear stories about—
Hold on, dude. What's that story? What's that story? Do you know it?
Well, from my understanding, the Orangeburg massacre took place in 1968 at a bowling alley. At the time, the folks around there wanted to desegregate the bowling alley.
Okay,
and
yeah.
There was a gentleman by the name of Cleveland Sellers, Dr. Cleveland Sellers, led the effort. There was another gentleman by the name of John Strawman who was involved. And there were three students in South Carolina State who were murdered. Their last names were Smith, Hammond, and Middleton. And the gym at South Carolina State University is named in their honor. It's the Smith, Hammond, Middleton Center. Yeah. And so that bowling alley, the Orangeburg local police, they attacked the students and the protesters there. And those three students that I just mentioned were murdered.
Okay, let me stop you there. What is the bowling alley still open, or is the building still there?
Yeah, yes, the building's still there. From my understanding, there are efforts to renovate the building and to repurpose it into a museum to highlight the history of the Orangeburg massacre, but also to highlight the richness of the civil rights movement in Orangeburg.
Okay, let me ask you this. I'm gonna get into you for a minute, my man. Did you go to an all-black high school?
Yes, I went to Orangeburg Wilkinson High School class of 1999. The racial composition at the time was about 80 to 85% African American.
Okay, so there was some white kids there.
Yeah. There were some white kids there.
Have you ever had any white friends?
Oh, yes.
Growing up?
Yes. In fact, before I transferred to Orangeburg Wilkinson, I went to Edisto High School briefly. And from 4th grade to 8th grade, I went to Edisto Primary School, then Carver Edisto Middle School. So I had a chance to meet and develop close relationships with white friends. It was very diverse.
Let me ask you this. So you got a solid education because you went to, like, did you go to a special kind of school, or it was just a neighborhood public school?
Basically a neighborhood public school.
Now, how about this? Did you have any Did you feel any racism when you was in school because the teacher knew that you was smart and tried to do something to hold you back?
I didn't really see that
Oh,
at the
really?
time. I didn't really experience racism. Just looking back at it,
Really?
I did saw some things that that were prejudiced towards Black, towards my peers at the time, mainly in sports. I remember at Edisto, I went to school with folks who were gifted athletically,
Right.
and some were gifted academically,
Right.
but never really had a break. And the white athletes pretty much had a break because of their connections and the wealth that they possess in the Cote Cordova area. I saw that at Edisto.
So you never been called a nigger?
I've never been called a nigger from white people. But I've been called a nigga by our own people.
Yeah. I got you.
But let me say this.
Yeah, go ahead.
I'm not oblivious to racism. I have stories of family members, including my wife, who have experienced racism, and I probably have seen racism myself.
Let me ask you this. There's a town, and maybe this happened in your city. There's a town that, I think it's New Brunswick, Georgia, or something like that, right?
Yeah, New Brunswick. Oh, you talking about New Brunswick? There's Brunswick, Georgia.
There's Brunswick, Georgia. Okay, but whatever town it is, they still celebrate where some of the white businesses close down on one day a week, on Tuesday or Wednesday, because they celebrate that was the day that they had slave auctions.
Yeah.
Do they do something like that in your city? Is that something that still is representative of slavery?
Not as I know.
Not as you know. Okay.
Yeah,
okay.
not as I know. Now I would say this. When you look at the South in general, and I always tell people that you have the Upper South and you have the Deep South, and then when you look at the South in general, you have rural towns that have their own identities. And so when you look at a place that you just mentioned in Deep South Georgia, and I've been in Deep South Georgia, they have their own identities. They are very, very in tune with the old traditions, and some of those traditions are
that's
racist. What
I'm getting.
Yeah, some of those traditions are racist. I mean, even in Mississippi, I found out that there's a town that I think last year they stopped having segregated proms. You had a prom, they had a prom for white students, and they had a prom for Black students. And so we have to really understand that there are deep sentimental issues that people hold dear to in the South.
Do you see Confederate flags?
Now, in South Carolina, yes, I do.
How does that make you feel?
The way I look at the Confederate flag is this, and in my book, I mentioned the fact that my ancestor, Lavinia Corley Thompson, she was an enslaved cook in the Confederate Army.
I saw that.
And I remember doing some research about that. The first thing I did, I called my cousin who shared it with me, and he said to me, he said, "Cuz, we got an ancestor who served in the Confederacy." I said, "Man, get out of here." I said, "You mean to tell me that we have an ancestor who served in the Confederacy?" But I was taught that African Americans mainly served in the Union Army. And so when I did some research, I found out that not only that she served as an enslaved cook, let me repeat that.
Yeah, right.
As an enslaved cook,
right.
But she also applied for a pension, and the state approved her pension on May 23rd, 1923. And so she was one of over 100 enslaved African Americans who served in the Confederate Army. Many of them were conscripted, meaning forced to serve with their masters.
Yeah, now, see, I've heard that story. Now, a lot of people don't. They were, and I was kind of wondering, did they think they were brainwashed to want to do it, so that they could stay enslaved? That wasn't the case.
No, that wasn't the case. And see, when we talk about blacks in the Confederacy, we have to break it down in three categories. First, you had a class of blacks like my ancestor who were conscripted to serve, forced to serve because their masters served in the Confederate Army. You had a second class who were free blacks who were drafted.
Oh, really?
Yes, there was one named Charles D. Hayne. I mentioned him in the book, and he was a free black who was drafted to serve in the Confederate Army. In fact, there was a draft during the Civil War here in South Carolina, and so free blacks like Charles D. Hayne was drafted, and then later on he became a teacher. And then he became one of the three founders of Aiken County.
Okay, let me say a funny one right there, right quick though. So my man, he free or he not free, he a slave. My man say, okay, you get a gun. He get a gun. He shoot the wrong guy. I'm thinking, hey, I'm sorry, man.
Yeah.
He done plucked off 3, 4, 5. He served in the U. But there was a big controversy of saying if they wanted blacks to serve with whites anyway, especially in the northern forces.
Yeah, the northern forces. I mean, see, and that's a good point, because you got to remember now. I'm going to share this with you.
Yeah.
And I'm going to share this to your listeners.
Yeah.
Frederick Douglass, the great abolitionist, and I'm a fan of Frederick Douglass.
Okay.
He found out that there were blacks who served in the Confederacy. Okay, I mentioned that in the book with the source.
Okay.
And that was around 1861. He published it in the Douglas Monthly. Now, at that time, the Union Army was all white.
Right.
Okay. Now, when Frederick Douglass recognized the fact that blacks served in the Confederacy, he used that argument to pressure Abraham Lincoln, President Lincoln, to say, look, you got to recruit blacks to serve in the Union Army.
Right.
Okay. And so, Lincoln at the time said, well, we do need to recruit blacks to serve because the Confederacy was winning the war. Okay. And see, when Lee invaded the North and went to Pennsylvania, I think that gave the impetus for Lincoln to say, look, we got to recruit blacks. And so that's when the Union Army began to recruit blacks, and we know about the 54th Massachusetts Regiment.
Right.
But you also had racist white Union soldiers, racist white Union officers who did not want to integrate.
Right.
Okay, with black Union soldiers.
Right.
And there are records of Union white officers calling black Union soldiers niggers.
Right.
It's there. So there was racism on both sides.
Oh, sure.
Okay. And then when we look at the blacks who served in the Union Army, one of the things that we got to understand too is that they served to liberate the enslaved.
Right.
They fought for liberation.
Right.
They fought for patriotism to say, look, we're liberators. We're coming to fight to liberate our brothers and sisters.
Right.
Okay. And see, at the time while they were fighting for that, the Union, there were Union states, Missouri, Kentucky, Delaware, and Maryland. They still had slaves. And see, this took place around, This took place around the Emancipation Proclamation, which was in 1863.
Right.
Okay, when Abraham Lincoln said, look, slaves in the country, okay, slaves will be free. But guess what? Delaware was the last state to free their slaves.
Right. And let's go back to your family, because that was a good sidebar, man. And I know I've done some talk about that. But your family is rich in terms of their business stuff that they were doing. Were they doing it in? How far back do you go?
I go back to 1830 in the book, the Thompson Family, because that's the year that the oldest Thompson ancestor, Miller's Thompson, was born. And so he purchased his freedom, and he also purchased the freedom of his two oldest daughters. And then later on, after slavery, he purchased over 100 acres of land for $2 an acre.
Yeah.
And when we talk, And
how did he get the money? How did he get the money?
Well, let me tell you this. When he was on the path of purchasing his freedom, he was aided and assisted by local whites who helped him do that. And from what an older relative told me, that Miller's Thompson did what many folks did. He worked and he saved money, and he was able to purchase his land. And so we have landowners in the Thompson family. Now, when you talk about Black-owned businesses, in my book, I mentioned. Hold
on, before you go, my brother. Go. Now, he was a slave.
Yeah.
Enslaved. I keep excuse me, my listeners. He was enslaved. Was his master a decent guy? Can you imagine that he was decent enough to allow him to be able to do that? Because you follow me, right?
Yeah. In fact, it's an interesting story, and I'm gonna tell you about that.
Yeah. Let's go to this, man. Everybody, y'all want to listen to this. Be quiet, folks. Listen to this.
See, really, from what a relative told me, that the Thompson last name was not the original last name of my ancestor and his siblings. Okay. They were Andersons. Okay, they were enslaved under a master last name Anderson.
Right.
Okay, the Anderson master was mean to them.
Oh, okay. Really?
Okay. And yes, and so they were together, and they were enslaved under a master by the last name Thompson. And so the Thompson master.
No, you lost me. You said it was Anderson, then it was Thompson.
It was Anderson, then it was Thompson.
Oh, he sold them to the Thompsons?
They sold them to the Thompsons.
I got you. Okay.
And so the Thompsons took care of my ancestors and his siblings, and that's why they kept the Thompson name. Now, there was one brother named Anderson Thompson. Check this out, Anderson Thompson. He decided to be named Anderson after the former slave owner, Anderson. So he kept the Anderson name, and that's very.
So he might not have been too mean to him then.
Yeah, he probably wasn't too mean to him. That's why he kept the name Anderson. So his name Anderson Thompson.
Did they pick cotton? What did they do?
Well, my ancestor Logan Thompson, he was a carpenter. He was a carpenter. In fact, in the 1870 census, it mentioned him as a carpenter. So he probably learned carpentry while he was enslaved.
Okay, let me do this. Let me do this, and you can chime in here. What we got to understand is not all slaves worked in the field.
Absolutely.
Some of them did, like what you're talking about. They were carpenters.
Yes, they were carpenters, and they were skilled people. And see, that's something that we got to also understand too about slavery. We hear this myth about they were working in the field. They were field hands. Yes, some of them were, but some of them were very skilled in trades.
Yeah.
Like my ancestor, who was a carpenter.
Yeah.
In fact, some of them even learned business by bartering. Okay, there's a relative in the book named Isaac Porterbaum, who bartered. Okay, he owned a syrup mill, and
now this is one of your relatives.
Yeah, one of
He's
my
enslaved.
He was enslaved, and so so what happened to Isaac Porterbaum? Okay, when he was free, all right, he owned a syrup mill, and so what my relative Isaac Porterbaum did, he sold syrup. And those who could not afford the syrup, he said to them, well, give me your jars. Okay, well, bartering. And he learned that during slavery, because that's what many slaves did. They bartered. They didn't have no monetary currency in many slave communities. And so when you talk about Black-owned businesses and slavery, we could focus on bartering, okay? And many businesses started there from that concept, all right? And then later on, some of the freemen began to earn money.
Let me ask you this: when we talk about Black-owned business, do you think the business got a name or something like that? Did you think did they have, you know what I mean? Did they have a name or just said, hey, go down there and see Thompson?
Yeah. I mean,
that might have been that way.
Yeah. Reputation. And really, when you look at the Thompson family, many of the individuals who own businesses were very active in their communities. In the church, many of the Thompson relatives attended Smyrna Missionary Baptist Church. Many of them were deacons.
And what city is this in?
This is in Sally, South Carolina, rural community in Aiken County. I don't know if you heard of the chitlin strut.
Yeah, what is that?
Well, chitlins are food from
I heard of chitlins.
Yeah, pigs' intestines. Sally is known for the chitlin strut, which takes place every Thanksgiving.
Oh, really?
Yeah, Thanksgiving holiday, the weekend after Thanksgiving Day. But my ancestors and their relatives who were business owners were well respected in the community. And to really be a successful Black business owner at that time, you had to have good community relations.
Okay, now, oh man, I love what you're saying, brother. Ooh, man, this is good stuff. And excuse me for interrupting you. I'm trying to get so my people can get it. So now, they were enslaved. They sold to the Thompson guy. The Thompson guy, he gets a cut of their money, I'm sure.
Probably did. I don't know the details. And I mean, with that, and just want to let folks know that some of the stories in the book were are oral narratives
Yeah,
that were told
sure.
by senior relatives
Sure.
who remember the older relatives, descendants of older relatives who heard stories about
Sure.
the individuals in the book.
Sure.
And then the oral narratives, most of them were confirmed by primary source documents.
Sure. Let
Um,
me ask you this. So
right.
now they own business. So for some reason, brains run in your family.
Yes. I
Yeah, it's
mean,
gotta, because I mean, you're talking about all these people in your family that are smart like this, because it could have gone the other way. They could be evil, not evil. They could be vindictive. They could not know how to deal with the white man under them circumstances,
yeah.
and not be, I guess, excuse me this word, and not so submissive, maybe, if that's a word to use, and that could not be so well on their behalf.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. See, when you look at the Thompson family, um, they had some advantages that many African American families around that time where they lived didn't.
Okay, yeah, good.
They were light skinned. Many of them were light skinned,
Oh,
um,
really?
and they used that to their advantage to get things for themselves and to help others as well. Um, and they knew how to play the politics to their advantage.
Okay,
Um,
with that, I'm sorry to ask you this question. Somewhere along, you said that, and you know I'm going with this.
right.
Somewhere along the way, some master had relations with one of them.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. In fact, Milledge, his second wife,
Millage is
um,
who?
Milledge Thompson, the
Okay,
one who I mentioned who purchased his freedom. Well,
okay.
his second wife, Amanda Friday Thompson, she was a daughter of a slave owner, and
So he married a white woman,
he married a black woman. Yeah, yeah. Amanda
but
was
she was a
black.
daughter of a, but her father was white.
Yeah, her father was white. That's
I
right.
got you. I got you.
Yeah. Her father last name was Friday. Okay, she was
I
owned
got you.
by the Friday family, and and so that's one story that I know.
I got you. I got
Yeah,
you. So then from that point, the kids started looking very fair and maybe even had straight hair and the whole shot.
right. That's exactly right.
I got you. I
That,
got you.
that yeah, that's exactly right. And so it's kind of interesting now. Now with Amanda, I just want to make a correction there. She had her master had an affair with her,
Yeah.
and they had a son named Joseph Pitts Thompson. Okay. Joseph Pitts Thompson. So what I just said previously, I want to make a correction on that. And his matter of fact, his story is in the book. Okay. His father was a Pitts. Okay. That Pitts was a white man, a slave owner, who had an affair with Miller's second wife, Amanda. Okay, Amanda Friday Thompson. And they had a son named Joseph Pitts Thompson. And when you look at his picture, he looked like a white man.
I got you.
Yeah, he passed for white. In fact, what was so interesting about Joseph Pitts Thompson, although he passed for white, but he was conscious that he was still black. And I'm gonna tell you why I say that. Because in the book, there's a story about him. He had a white mistress, okay? And he dated her around the 1900s. Now, his first wife, okay, Ravonna Corley Thompson, and they had a lot of kids. She died. He raised his children from her. He dated a white mistress. However, because of racism, sexual racism, meaning that it was frowned upon interracial dating.
Sure.
Okay, at that time.
Sure.
Joseph and his white mistress left town. They left Sally and never returned. Okay, and they left at night. See, he passed for white. He used his skin to his advantage, but he knew, I'm still black.
Wow. Let me ask you this, and as we kind of come to a close, you got all this in your family. I got one question, and I'm gonna get back to the family. If you
Yes, sir.
mind. Can a dark-skinned guy do what your family did back then?
I don't know. I tell you this, and I see where you're going with this.
Yeah.
Which is a great question, because we're talking about colorism.
Yeah.
Again, during that time in the African American community in the South, in the Deep South, okay, sometimes color mattered when it came to racial relations. Now, when you look at dark-skinned black folks at that time, that when it came to race relations, you have to look at the factors. Okay. Now, if they work for a prominent white landowner, okay, like for instance, there's a story in the book Murray Quarterbaum. Okay, he was a vigilante. He was not light skinned, he was brown skinned. That his father Isaac, who I mentioned, was dark skinned. Okay, and the Quarterbaum family, they had good relations with the Brody family, a predominant white family, and so Isaac Quarterbaum, he was dark skinned, but he got along with prominent whites in the community. In fact, him and his wife, Charlotte Thompson Quarterbaum, entertained black and white folks at their.
Now, did she pass for white, or she looked dark too?
Yeah, she passed for white.
Okay.
Yeah, she passed for white, but I remember.
So they might have thought he had a tan.
Hey
man, you got a tan. We know you one of us.
Yeah.
Come on down to that meeting.
Well, yeah, but I'm gonna tell you this though. I'm gonna tell you this. With Murray Quarterbaum, and I'm gonna get to my point.
Yeah.
Okay, he wasn't light skinned. He was brown skinned.
I got you.
But he shot the chief of police of Wagner, who was a white man. Okay, this was around 1922.
Whoa!
He shot the Wagner chief police because the chief, along with his assistant, who was a black man named Norris Johnson, wanted to arrest Murray brother, John Quarterbaum. And I've seen a picture of him. He was darker than Murray, okay? And the issue was that John mortgaged a cow that did not belong to him. Back in the day, people mortgaged anything, whether it was cows or horses. I mean, it didn't matter.
Okay.
So Murray confronted the chief and told the chief, well, what you got on my brother? Do you have a warrant? Now, when I read that in the source, I said, wait a minute, Cousin Murray was a very smart man. He asked the chief, did he have a warrant to arrest his brother? And so the chief and Murray got into an argument. Murray shot the chief. and the chief was hospitalized. There was a manhunt for Murray.
I'm sure.
He escaped. He was arrested, but he was bailed out by Dr. John Brody, who was a white man. Now, why did he bail Murray out? Well, I'm gonna tell you, one guy told me, I went to my cousin cookout a couple years ago, and I told him the story about it. He said, you know what, your cousin could have been a snitch. I said, what do you mean by that? He said he probably knew something about that wagon chief police. Okay, he said there was some snitches back in the day that white folks who did things toward blacks, all right?
Did things for blacks, against blacks?
Against blacks, okay, and he mentioned that. Okay, he said, hey, he probably knew something about the chief. And I found that to be very interesting.
Yeah, no question.
But he was bailed out by Dr. John Brody. And you had some white landowners who had tenant farmers and sharecroppers. They protected their investment, okay? They protected their investment. And so Dr. Brody, who, like I mentioned, the Brody family had good relations with the Quarterbaum and Thompson family, he decided, okay, I'm gonna protect my investment. Murray, he comes from a good family. I'm gonna bail him out.
Wow, man, we could go on forever, man. I know you got a good story. We're gonna come back at this, brother, everybody.
Yeah.
We're gonna come back at you, man. I'm gonna tell you, we're gonna come, we're gonna come back at you, man. Please be ready too. Tell me when you're ready again, everybody, because we can go on and we're gonna come back at you because he blew my mind. He blew my mind, man. He blew my mind. We covered a lot. That's what we do here, Strong and Fresh. I come up with these guys, these ladies. They know what they're talking about. They did the research, it's in their family, and they bring it to you straight, no chaser.
Yep, that's right.
Straight, no chaser. And the beautiful thing is his family, and then my man here, he went on and went to school, to college, and got his doctorate. Man, I'm so happy. Brother, let me tell you something. Before I tell you what I got to tell you, everybody, let me say this to you. Come on and hit that subscribe button. Hit that like button on this video, because there'll be going to be a part 2.
Yeah.
Come on and hit that notifications bell. Tell somebody about Strong Inspirations. I'm just lucky enough to find the people and I let them tell it. And, read my book, watch my movie, read his book, everybody. Is it on Amazon?
Yes, it's on Amazon. And I just want to tell your listeners that this book is the 2019 International African American Historical and Genealogical Society Book Award winner. And yes. I want to say this to your listeners.
Yes.
Man, click on that subscribe button.
Click on that subscribe button. Now, when you look at the book, you look up under the Thompson Family.
That's right. That's right. Or you can look up Dr. Walter Curry. In fact, this book has been approved by Wagner Sally High School, okay, where the Thompson family is from, to be a part of their curriculum.
Whoa, hey, everybody, it's going to be in the description part. Let's get that brother's book. We're going to come back at him. Let me say to you, my brother, please.
Yes, sir.
Brother Curry, I want you to do this, man. I want you to stay strong.
Yes, sir.
Stay safe.
Yes, sir.
Stay on your grind, because we really appreciate what you're doing. Everybody, we out. We're going to have a part 2 on this one, I promise you. We out. Bye-bye.
Thank you, sir. I really enjoyed it.
Yeah.